What's going on, guys? Welcome to the Creating Wealth Podcast, where I, Kyle, from Kyle Curtin Real Estate, interview local top dogs in the real estate investing, wealth building, and personal finance industries. Let's build together. What's up, guys? This is part 2 of Andrew's episode of the podcast. He has done some big things in real estate in a pretty short amount of time. Andrew has taken his first investment of a 1-bedroom condo in Boston and turned it into 3 more real estate deals. And he still has the condo. In the second part of this episode, Andrew gives tons of absolutely priceless information from his experiences so far, especially phenomenal tips for your mindset, finding and creating autonomy in your day-to-day life, escaping the rat race, the two-sided relationship between tenants and landlords, just to name a few. We also dig a little into cost segregation and potential tax benefits with the real estate professional designation and much, much more. There is so much to digest here, and I hope you enjoy. Let's jump right into the episode.
And then, just to keep asking, why or how. If this one didn't work out, okay, how do I create more opportunities to be able to do the same thing again until I get one that works? Yeah. Or, in your case and other people that are, can be buying multiple properties, how can I get even more of these to get even more opportunities to buy more properties? And just kind of, keep asking, how can I keep doing this?
Yeah.
And until you get it.
never blame anybody but yourself. You have to take complete ownership in any sort of situation that occur. I mean, if a contractor screws you, you got to think to yourself, how did I establish the expectations up front? How did I develop that scope of work? Exactly. You honestly, at the end of the day, if you blame other people for your problems, you are not going to be a successful real estate investor. Yep. It's that simple. I mean, you really truly have to take ownership of your life and the decisions that you make.
Exactly. Yeah. If you got a contractor that screwed you, exactly, where is the flaw in my process for vetting contractors? Where did it slip through the cracks and how can I patch that up so this doesn't happen again? Exactly. Just kind of always, kind of stemming back to what we were talking about earlier, stemming back to those quote unquote failures and those bad things that happen, and just constantly adapting to fix those things and, try to make sure they don't happen again, and just learn from them.
And not ruminating on the negativity, ruminating how you can fix this.
Exactly.
That's one of my biggest pet peeves is when something bad occurs, people that focus and ruminate on the negativity of the situation and never really work to resolve it. That's a big pet peeve of mine because, what's the point? What are you achieving with that?
Exactly. Nothing.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing. So, yeah.
Yeah. Ooh, what do you consider to be the biggest variable to expand your portfolio?
I would say the biggest variable to expanding my portfolio now is utilizing my own money. Mm-hmm. I bought about 3 properties on that line of credit, and I'm pretty much cashed out at this point, right? So, what my goal right now is I'm actually currently in the process of refinancing out of my first house hack to get out of the FHA loan.
Nice. Yep.
Use it again, but I also need to build up 3.5% of cash to purchase my next property. So I should be able to do that in 6 months. But the fact that I'm using my own money limits my expansion ability.
Yeah.
I get 100% of the deal, but I get 100% of the deal 6 months from now. I'd rather get 50% of a deal 2 months from now.
Yeah. Right.
So that's kind of the biggest hurdle I'm running into. But at the same time, it's not a huge hurdle because I understand real estate's a long game. It's not a short game. Like I control $1.5 million of real estate right now. I could literally do nothing. And in 30 years from now, I would have $1.5 million in real estate, not including inflation, not including appreciation. I could literally retire better than most people could in 30 years.
Exactly.
Right?
Which is
And that's
scary
not
to
even,
think about.
yeah, and that's not even taking into account all the benefits that would occur. I mean, realistically, that's going to be worth $3 million, $4 million down the road. The rents would increase dramatically. I would get way more cash flow than I get now. But I'm literally not taking any of that into account. I'm just telling you face value what I would have in 30 years,
And not to mention like the tax benefits and everything, and like, make it stretch even further.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, to your point, I mean, kind of what I hope to do down the road is I hope to eventually qualify as a real estate professional via the tax code.
Yes.
That essentially means is you commit a certain amount of hours to real estate activities every single year. And when you do that, you have the ability to write off unlimited losses as opposed to a W-2 employee that year. I think you're limited to around 25,000, depending on how much money you make. The more money you make, the less you can write off.
Yeah.
So my goal down the road is to qualify for that designation and then utilize, call them cost segregation studies. And essentially what you can do is you can reclassify the depreciation on your property from a straight line depreciation, which normal residential depreciation occurs at 27.5 years. So just take the cost of the property and minus out land, maybe. Don't quote me on that. Talk to your professional. You essentially just take 27.5 of the purchase price, as opposed to accelerated depreciation, where you can pick and choose certain items and write off a good portion of that up front. So you can write off, say, 20, 30, 40 property up front, which that would result in huge tax returns, right? Yeah. 20, 30, 40, 50, $60,000 tax returns, right? So my plan is to eventually down the road fall into that classification, do a lot of these cost segregation studies on some of my high value properties, get huge tax write-offs, get the tax return, pay off my line of credit, purchase more property, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. All while 1031ing once the depreciation benefit runs out, because the whole idea of cost segregation study is you're utilizing your depreciation pool earlier, right? Yeah. So you're going to get it up earlier, right? So if I run out of depreciation on a property, who cares? I'll just 1031 into another one, start off at square one of depreciation, do another cost segregation study.
That's crazy, man. I've heard that term before, but I've never really like dug into it at all. That's unbelievable. So can you do, or obviously like you can do that multiple times?
You can cost segregation. Yeah, you could do a cost segregation study on any property. It's very expensive. So I think the general rule of thumb, and it may differ on everybody's scenario. I think the general rule of thumb is if the property's like cost $500,000 or more, then it's most likely worth it for you. But all of that is assuming you fall into the real estate professional designation. Currently, right now, it would cost me about $13,000-$14,000 to do a cost segregation study in all my properties, and I'd be able to write off $250,000. But I wouldn't have access to those write-offs because I'm a W-2 employee. I would be able to write off $20,000 to $25,000 per year, right? Yeah. Just result in a third of that in your tax return. That result in $7,000-8,000 tax return, as opposed to my goal of getting lots of tax return and leveraging that to purchase more property. So that's kind of my ultimate goal down the road. So, I was planning on obtaining my real estate license eventually. Hopefully that coupled with the fact that I, self-manage 7 units, I would hope I would have the ability to fall into that designation, but it's still to work that CPA.
See, I'm kind of curious if you are an investor and you are self-managing, like if those, I'll have to dig into it a little bit just out of curiosity, but like if those hours as an investor like count towards that, or if like you have to be, like a real estate agent or a broker or, whatever.
They definitely do count towards it. Yep. You just have to when you work at W-2, you have to like track all of your hours because it's a certain hour that you have to comply with.
Yep.
So I don't really know the intricacies, but when and I think a majority of your time has to be utilized on real estate endeavors, right?
Mhm.
So sure, I'm running into, I do 40 hours a week, 52 weeks a year, 2,080 hours per year. I would have to do 2,081 hours doing real estate.
Okay. Yep.
So, it's challenging for a W-2 employee. It's definitely feasible, and you can definitely get it done, but it takes a lot more legwork to ensure you're complying with all of the rules.
Yep. It sounds really interesting though. That sounds like a really crazy tool.
But you personally might be able to qualify, given the fact that you're a practicing real estate agent.
I'll have to look into it. Yeah. If I find out any more kind of information about it, I'll keep you posted.
Yeah, please do.
That's crazy, man. So do they have those for like commercial properties?
I believe they do, yes.
Or like a version of it or something?
Yeah, I mean, I actually, I know they do because syndication is a common study of syndications.
Oh.
Wealthy investors, for example, lawyers who have large billable hours and wants huge tax write-offs. That's one of the main incentives they utilize for signing up for a syndication is the huge tax benefit they'll get initially from the cost segregation in year one.
That's crazy.
So a lot of wealthy individuals, like that's one of their primary criteria with investing in a syndication is like, hey, are you going to do like a cost segregation study? I mean, if they're smart and they're high income earners, that's a question they should be asking.
Yeah.
Or
that's unbelievable.
Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it's all about knowledge. I mean, like, I have the money to purchase my 3 properties. I use a home line of credit on my primary residence. It's I didn't have the money for 25% down on a 3-family. I knew to utilize an FHA loan. It's all about the knowledge. It's not about having the resources. It's about knowing the resources available to solve the problem.
Yeah. See, and that's the thing that I really love about real estate, is like the knowledge is always out there and like it's free. Like I was talking to somebody recently. He's an older gentleman and he used to flip houses back in like the 80s. And he was telling me kind of like, what real estate investing looked like back in the 80s. And like just kind of comparing it to now, I'm like, wow, like we don't realize how good we have it. Like he was talking about, having to wait till like this real estate seminar, like a 3-day, like weekend thing or something came into town. And like they'd sell like a box of cassettes that, you'd have to like buy it or whatever. And then like listen to it in your car to get like some of this knowledge, and like it was obviously, they didn't have the internet or anything back then. So like just the connections and like, going into a real estate office and like the pocket listings and like everything's on paper, like it really blew my mind. I'm like, how like good we have it now, I guess, well, like, I think we met on Bigger Pockets, like, you know what I mean? And like, even on like Instagram, like Facebook, Bigger Pockets. Yeah. Like you can literally type in like real estate investors in Worcester or Boston or Springfield or Austin, Texas, and like there's a bunch of people that just show up right off the bat, and like you can send them a message, you can, shoot the breeze with them, have a phone call, Zoom call, whatever. And like, thinking about it in the context of, what this gentleman kind of grew up with and what he was used to, like you couldn't do that stuff back then, like could you imagine, it being like 1980 and you wanted to flip houses in Texas, like people probably looked at you like you had like 10 heads and you probably would have had to fly down to Texas to like meet brokers in their offices and stuff. Like it's just crazy to think about, that different kind of perspective, like just how different everything is. And like, everything's right there,
Yeah. I mean, I 100% agree with you, but I think learning is an age-old endeavor at the same time. I mean, a lot of the learning I've done has been via books,
Yeah.
And and my like, for example, my father helped me change a water heater a couple months back, and I'm like, asked him like, how do you learn how to do this? He's like, oh, I read a book. Like,
Come on. Yeah,
I would have to watch a YouTube video.
exactly.
You know, but you know, I think that just goes back to, you know, how motivated are you in getting achieving your goals? I mean, if you're motivated, you will find a way, whether it's 1980, whether it's 2050,
Yep.
you will find a way. And you know, it's that simple, you know. So it just all depends on how self-motivated you are to achieve your goals, and never giving up, never accepting failure, you know.
Yeah,
So,
I totally agree. You know, at the end of the day, that's really what it is. You know, like just going out to seek that knowledge and figuring out a way to get it. You know, or like, you know, wanting to meet those people in that market, or, you know, find out about, you know, some of the different loan programs and stuff that are around, you know, and like, how are you going to find out to be able to use it? You have to be motivated to go find it, right?
yeah, and always chasing after the better version of yourself. You know what I mean? You would imagine the person you want to be 10 years from now, and you want to take measurable steps every day to get to that point.
Yep.
You know, and if you don't do that, you shouldn't expect to achieve that state of being in the future. You know,
Exactly.
to me, I always, one of my life's goals is to be a better version of myself every day. You know, and constantly be learning, because once you start learning, just like a flower, you wither and die.
Yep.
You know, but when you continue to learn, you grow and you flourish, right? And I definitely live my life in that same way.
100%. Yeah, you know, there's always more to learn too. You know, like you're never really gonna know everything, and like that's what I really like about real estate in general, is there's literally like so much information out there. Like, you're not gonna learn it all. You can learn like a ridiculous amount about a lot, but you're not gonna know it all. You know, like there's always gonna be things that you're picking up, you know, like things that get changed, and it's unbelievable. Like I feel like there's like a very sustainable amount of information based on how bad you want it. You know, like even if you're ridiculously driven and you're, you know, listening to podcasts 24/7, reading all the books you can find, you know, talking to all the people that you can, there's always going to be more, you know, and like there's just so many resources out there that you're never going to learn it all, you know. And like it's one of those things, like the way I look at it, like I love to, like, you know, try to, you know, meet like all the people in a market, or, you know, like kind of like the extreme, you know, like learn literally like everything about a market that you can, like, you know, where's this, where's that, and like, you know, what's going on with this. And like, I don't know, there's just so much information out there to go get, you know, and to learn that. And you're probably not going to learn everything that, you know, everything that exists about like that market or like those people, but just the journey of trying to do that is really satisfying by itself, you know, because like there's always going to be more that keeps getting introduced. So I feel like it's just a really sustainable kind of pattern of knowledge, you know. It's because there's always going to be more.
Yeah, no, I mean, I 100% agree with that. I also think, you know, you have to combine that with action too.
Of
You know,
course. Yeah.
and can't just learn forever and not take action. I mean, at a certain point, you're not going to know everything regarding a situation. You just have to take the leap, trust in your abilities to resolve the issue at hand or any issues that arise, and just do it. You know, like, you know, I didn't know how my first property would turn out. You know, I didn't know, you know, my condo would double or, you know, double in value. You know, I you know, I just took the leap, you know. The last 3 deals I did, you know, I'm one person, you know, that's a lot of mortgages for one person. You know, took the leap. You
Yeah.
know, I knew it was possible. I knew what I was trying to achieve. I developed steps to get it done. And when the steps became apparent, I actually took them and didn't find the excuse to back out.
Exactly.
So yeah.
Yeah, you know, and then stemming back to you know, the conversation we had about failure and stuff, you know, like right when you take that leap and actually take the action, looping back to, you know, if things don't go so hot, taking the lessons from that, you know, to just keep doing it until it does work out, you know, just kind of like a vicious cycle.
Don't use that as an excuse. You
Yep.
know, you use it at, you should be thankful that it happened to you, because how much knowledge did you gain from that mishap? I'm sure way more than what it cost you.
Oh, 100%, 110%. Yeah, definitely. You know, and then just picking things like that off, you know, just kind of going through the reps, and the more reps you do, the more information you're going to learn, you know,
Exactly.
whether you're winning or not so much.
You can only lose for so long.
Yep.
There has to be a win. It's just probability says that, you know?
Eventually.
Eventually, right?
Someday I will win. It might not be today, but Andrew, how do you define wealth? I know we kind of dug into it a little bit already, but
I define wealth by living the life you truly want to live.
yeah.
You know, that's simple. You know, I value time, I value control, I value, you know, my own destiny. And I want the ability to control that. And I feel like financial freedom and wealth will give me that ability and give me the time to seek my passions, and really live the life I want to live. You know, um, I'm not really going after financial freedom because, you know, I want all the money in the world, or anything like that. I just want control of my time.
Yeah.
Simple. I want control of my time. I don't live a lavish lifestyle. I don't plan on living a lavish lifestyle. I just want the ability to travel, the ability to teach others how you might be able to achieve your dreams like I have, and to spend and develop authentic relationships with friends and family. So if I had that, you know, if I had that ability, you know, and my net worth was $1, I'd be the happiest in the world.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, in today's world, you need money to go after opportunities, right?
Couple more dollars.
Yes,
Just a
yes,
couple.
yes.
That's it.
Yeah.
Maybe some loose
Maybe
change.
yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah, I really love that, man, you know, and like at the end of the day, that's what it is, you know, is to escape the rat race, and you know, get out of, you know, the things that you are obligated to do, you know, to put food on the table, and you know, be able to do that like different ways. And you know, I was talking to somebody last night about it, actually. You know, it's unbelievable how like that's kind of what you're set up to do, is to just like work all these years and then have to escape from that, you know, through different methods and everything, to be able to actually like live your life the way you want to. You know, like I don't know, like just thinking about it, like super boiled down, like it's like a prison sentence, you know what I mean? Like, you know, just kind of being in the rat race, and always having that, you know, that job or whatever, like just the things that you have to do to put food on the table. And then, you know, like the game, at least that we're playing and a lot of other folks are playing, are just how to get out of that, you know, and just live your life like normal, you know. And
Yeah.
like just even to be with your family and stuff, you have to escape something that you're placed into to spend more time with your family. You know, it's unbelievable to think about, you know, it's crazy.
Yeah. And to your point, you know, I'm not trying to get out of the rat race because, you know, I don't like my job or anything. Like, I'm extremely grateful for the opportunities that got given to me.
Yeah.
But I want to control my time, and I want to control where I need to be at a certain time. I mean, you know, that's kind of my ultimate goal, is just a certain level of control and autonomy. I don't know,
Yeah.
read Too Good They Can't Ignore You. Very good book. Oh, sorry, So Good They Can't Ignore You. Okay,
Oh, okay.
yeah, very, very good book. But he just actually just talks about, you know, how, you know, everybody thinks seeking your passion will actually create happiness. But no, most of the time that doesn't happen. Most of the time people truly gain gratification and desire gratification from their job when they actually get good at something.
Yeah.
You know, and at that point they could demand a certain level of autonomy, a certain level of control, you know, and those are the kind of the people that really ascend in their field, are people who really have that level of autonomy, have that level of control, you know, really work to get good at something and truly enjoy it at that point. You know, like in my current job, I like what I do. I mean, I enjoy what I do because, you know, it's honestly, it's good practice for life. I deal with very I work with very influential MIT, Harvard professors, MGH doctors, and they have all of high expectations on what to expect. So I value the fact that I've learned how to deliver on those expectations, and that's very transferable to other roles. So, you know, at the end of the day, you know, you really got to make the best of what you have and be grateful for what you have, but also have a vision of where you want to be in the future. You know, and I think that's the biggest thing about being a real estate investor is, you know, a lot of drive behind doing it is people just want to escape the rat race, escape their job. But at a certain point, you should be grateful for certain aspects of your life. I mean, you could be living in a third world nation. You could not have healthcare. You know, your parents could be passed to another life. You know, you have many things you should be thankful for. And I feel like when you engage in gratitude, your life just turns out that much better.
Yeah, I totally agree, man. You know, and to kind of touch on that, you know, like finding that balance between having, what's the word? All that like gratification, you know, for the things that like you're blessed to have, as well as having that vision on how am I going to make this better, you know, and what's that version of myself in my life that, you know, I aspire to have, you know, and just kind of finding that middle ground. You know, and just, you know, being grateful for what you have, but also having that growth mindset at the same time.
Yeah. And I mean, the biggest tip for me on how to maintain that dichotomy is just not allowing negative thoughts to ruminate. You know, when you're actually out of your job, be out of your job. Don't be ruminating. Don't be thinking about certain aspects of your job. Don't be thinking about certain projects. Be out of it, because you'd be surprised how much more impact you have when you're actually there and you come back refreshed and you come back ready to go. You're that much more effective than when you've just been ruminating and stressing about a certain issue the entire night. Then you come back to it, you know, think how you got to perform then. You're not going to perform very well, you know? So I think the power of the mind, if people truly underestimate that, in my opinion, you know, and I think that's the difference between somebody who can achieve financial freedom and somebody who can't, is them understanding that they have the power to do everything that they want. They just have to put the work in.
Exactly. That was awesome. So, Andrew, what is your best piece of advice to new investors that want to start and manage their rental portfolio?
That's a fantastic question. You know, my biggest tip for people would be, you know, being a tenant and a landlord, it's a two-way relationship. People just naturally, like, I've spoken to other landlords, all they do is complain about crappy tenants, or, you know, people spoken with tenants, all they complain about is crappy landlords. But at the end of the day, it's a two-sided relationship. And to be a really, truly successful real estate investor, you really have to be empathetic with your tenant and really see it from their point of view, and really go out of your way to provide good housing and resolve any issues that they that happens to them in a very timely manner. I mean, at the end of the day, we're all humans. Psychology is in play in every interaction. You know, and I guarantee if your tenant likes you as a person, there's 100% more chance they're going to pay you on time. You know, if they really care about your well-being, they will make that payment. If they could care less about me, I guarantee you they would push off that payment as long as possible, right? So I believe just maintaining an empathetic relationship with your tenants will put you hands above your competition. Not many landlords value tenants like that. And And at the end of the day, I try to provide the best customer service to my tenants because those are my customers. Those are the people keeping my business alive. And I want to continue to keep my business alive.
That's so true, man. I feel like, maybe the way that I guess some landlords are is kind of what gives real estate investors a bad name. Like the slumlord, like
Yeah.
that type of thing. And like, it's like not everybody's like that. I mean, and like just to kind of hear, from like a lot of different places, like just the value of like just getting down to like a person to person level, like transaction aside, rent, whatever aside, and just to really like step into their shoes and kind of see what's going on and, see how you can fix that problem. Because I really
Yeah.
like how you said that a minute ago too, about they're keeping your business afloat. Like the real estate is a business. Without them, now the money's coming out of your pocket to pay the bills. You literally like need them.
Yeah. Yeah. You're absolutely right. And, when it comes to providing an empathetic and caring relationship to tenants, I mean, respond to their requests in a timely manner. Provide housewarming gifts to them. You can provide Mother's Day gifts. I mean, I get it. We want to make as much money as possible. But I mean, you got to think it's a long-term investment to maintain a long-term tenant. I mean, think if that tenant doesn't like you, you get a vacancy, it's going to cost you a lot more than a gift here or there to get that unit renovated, to get it filled. You're going to have periods where you go without payment and rent. So, I at the end of the day, it's all about relationships. I mean, this industry is all about relationships, all about being likable. And you really have to translate that over to your tenants. It's not just a one-way street, and when you have 10 evictions on your plate, you got to take a certain level of ownership with that. Were you not empathetic with your tenants? Did you screen horribly? Like most likely those are the two issues that why you're in your predicament, right?
Yeah.
So I don't like it when other real estate investors just blame the other people.
Tenants.
I mean, I'm sure most of their problems could have been resolved if they looked inward.
Yeah. And like that's stemming back to actually a lot that we were talking about earlier, about like just finding the flaws, and taking full ownership of that and saying like, all right, what went wrong here and how am I going to avoid this the next time? I feel like that's like a pretty central principle, especially for real estate investing, is to just take like a ridiculous amount of ownership, and just try to do as much as you can that's in your power to optimize and limit, some of those bad things that are happening.
Yeah. And then I would say my other second piece of advice would just be like, have a very strong screening criteria and wait for the semi-perfect tenant that you need. Even if your unit has to stay vacant for 1-2 months longer, like it's worth it. It's worth it to get a good tenant rather as opposed to filling the unit quickly, getting a really bad tenant and having to go through the eviction process, having them destroy your unit. It's worth it to screen, and it's worth it to wait for the perfect tenant.
That's golden. I know it's crazy hearing that too, man. Even on like, bigger pockets and stuff, like, because I mean, I haven't been in that situation quite yet, but like just really wanting to get that unit filled up so you can start getting paid. But if you fill it too early and, kind of slip up in your screening, it might be, a lot more than what you bargained for.
Yeah. Run their credit, make sure they have a good job, make sure they have a decent nest egg, just make sure that, that they seem reasonable with money via their credit. Make sure they don't have any criminal negative history. Just do your due diligence. I mean, just like purchasing the house, why would it stop once you get the house under management? Why would it? It shouldn't.
Yeah.
You should continue. You should continue to do that same level of due diligence throughout the whole process of owning the property. And once you start doing that, then that's when issues arise via, not screening tenants well, via not screening contractors well, via not managing expectations, at a certain point, all of these issues are avoidable if you just do the due diligence up front.
Yeah. I love that, man. That's awesome. Ooh, Andrew, do you read? And what is your favorite business, investing, or real estate book that you would recommend to anyone? If you had to pick one.
Oh my God. Well, I mean,
I know I'm asking a lot.
I want to say Rich Dad Poor Dad. I mean, like every real estate investor out there, because that really created a mind shift for me. It really showed me the value of time. It showed me that, I was living in a state of fear, living in a state that, I had to get up every day to get that next paycheck. I had to stay at this job. I couldn't take time off. I had to continue working in this rat race to obtain the dreams that I wanted. And, that really came from a place of fear. Like I was just scared to take the leap, scared of going against my family and friends' expectations of what success is. I was scared of living under a bridge. I was scared of all of that. But at a certain point, I don't want to live a life of regret. I don't want to live, looking back at my life 20 years from now and say, I should have done that. I should have done this. That'd be a way worse feeling, I feel, than me living under the bridge. If I lived under the bridge and I tried to achieve what I want, I'd be a happy bum. I'll tell you that right now.
That's the best thing I've heard all day. No, it's so true though, because at least that you gave it a shot, and then like you'll bounce back, until the next thing comes along and give the next thing a shot. But what's different this time is now you have the experience from the first time to carry you into the second attempt. Eventually you're gonna get it.
Yeah.
And you'll just be happy. You won't be a bum.
Yes. So, but some of the other books I like are The Cash Flow Quadrant by Robert Kiyosaki. That's his like second or third book in the series. I think it's called People, Money, Deals, Money, People, Money, Deals. Combination of the three. It's by Stefani. He essentially teaches you how to network and partner deals. There's also a fantastic book called The Motivation Manifesto as well, which that just goes over strategies on how to motivate yourself.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Like I've been reiterating throughout this podcast, it's all about taking daily action. Ever since I started on this journey, I've never been an avid reader before this journey. When I started on it, I started reading 15 pages a day, and then a year later, I read 25 books, so it's just small incremental steps add up to huge action. And it's that simple. When you ask me for a book, I literally have a hard time picking one because I've read so many great books over the past year.
Yeah.
So it's,
you're right.
I mean, if you're just starting out, you need to read Rich Dad Poor Dad. It's kind of, rather than me explaining my mindset to you, you just read that book and you understand it.
Yeah.
So
pretty much, man. I feel like that book, I think I bought it for like $8 or something on Amazon. I feel like that's gonna be like the one investment that I'm gonna have like the highest return on like ever. That literally like the same exact thing, and same with like a lot of other people out there. That literally just rewired my brain, like punched me in the face, and I woke up like a different person. Like that's one of those kind of books that I'm probably gonna read that at least once a year for the rest of my life, just to refresh, and like it's crazy. It's just something else.
I mean, and the one thing I would really say that it taught me is it taught me integrity. It taught me that when I tell myself I'm gonna do something, my word means something. Like I've always had these big dreams of achieving certain things for my life. I would always procrastinate. I always find the reason not to. Well, let me watch that next series on Netflix. So let me play that video game.
Yeah.
Well, let me get my master's program. And that was all just procrastination for me running away from my dreams in fear, honestly, at the end of the day. So I truly appreciate that book because it really taught me just the integrity of being a man of your word, a man or woman of your word.
Yeah, that's absolutely huge, man. It really is. I could talk to you for hours, Andrew. Thank you so much for coming on here, man. It really was an honor to have you on. Where on
Thank you.
like social media and stuff can you be found?
So I have a LinkedIn page, Freed. So feel free to look me up. I'm also on Bigger Pockets. You can look me up there as well. And I truly gain satisfaction from teaching others. So if anybody has any questions, needs help, always feel free to reach out. I'm always happy to network with other investors or wannabe investors. Definitely a passion of mine to help others achieve financial literacy and hopefully financial freedom down the road.
That is amazing, man. I love it. Guys, go follow Andrew. I'll link all your stuff below, but reach out to him. Also, you've been hosting a couple meetups in Worcester recently.
I appreciate the plug. Yeah, we do have a Worcester meetup, real estate meetup hosted by Candor Realty Company. And then our next meetup is September 22nd at the Hangover Pub from 6:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. And we actually have some really good guest speakers. We have a multifamily real estate investor in Worcester. He owns dozens of multifamilies, so he's going to be speaking on his journey. And we also have a cost segregation expert that's essentially going to be going over cost segregation 101. So you can kind of learn more of the strategy I spoke about earlier as well. Again, that's 6:30 to 8:30, September 22nd at the Hangover Pub in Worcester, Massachusetts.
Guys, be there. I can't wait.
Appreciate it.
All right, guys, that concludes our Creating Wealth podcast episode for today. I want to thank every single person that has listened this far. It really means a lot to know that people can learn from me and with me as we build wealth together. Hopefully, you can take home at least one thing from this podcast that will improve your life just a little bit. If you could, please check me out on social. That's at Kyle Curtin Real Estate on Instagram, Facebook, and I'm on Bigger Pockets. Until next time, let's build together.